Thank you, Manigaru, and thank you, Vishwa, for giving me this wonderful opportunity to speak to all of you. It is always a privilege to talk about yoga. Yoga is a very, very special program, very, very close to our hearts at Soham Academy of Human Excellence. So what I'm going to do today is walk you through some of the things that we were able to accomplish at Soham Academy of Human Excellence, and in the process, bring out some insights on what we learned when it comes to implementing yoga programs in schools. So I'll start with someone about whom you are very familiar with already. So I'm sure you'll recognize this person, gold medalist, silver medalist, bronze medalist in the recently concluded Olympics, PV Sindhu. What I typically do during these presentations or whenever I talk about fitness is to talk about the connection between the mind and the physical body, how mind controls the physical body. Now, I want you to briefly imagine what should be going on in the mind of PV Sindhu when she is playing shuttle badminton. In this case, she has to pick up something. This looks like an easy shot. But there are some times when she has to bend and stretch quite a bit to pick up something, or bend far backward quite a bit to pick up something. And these are the things that she is doing without looking at herself. So basically, she knows the position of her body, position of where the hand is going. She doesn't have to look at the hand about where it is going and how she is picking it up. She doesn't even have to look at the shuttle racket also to pick it up correctly. So sometimes she picks up like this, sometimes she picks up like this, sometimes back here. So there's a lot of wrist movement also. Now, there is this huge connect between the body movement, the wrist movement, and the entire physique of the person playing a game and responding to a situation. This huge connect is possible because of the higher levels of fitness associated with that person, the higher mental caliber that is associated with that person. Same thing we'll notice in the case of cricket also. If you see, this is again another famous personality, Virat Kohli. Imagine this person trying to pick up a ball. It's a catch. He's going to dive to take that catch, right? So when he's diving to take that catch, you should know that this person is not looking at his hands to coordinate the ball movement, to coordinate and hold on to it. He's not looking at that. He's basically focusing on the ball. And he doesn't even have to know where his feet are at, how he is bending forward, how much he has to bend forward to collect the ball. There is intense mathematical calculation that is happening in the brain, in the mind of a sports person during something like this. Now, if you notice, Virat Kohli will successfully take that catch, the batsman gets out, and there's a lot of happiness out of it. Now, again, in this case also, there is a lot of stamina, a lot of mental strength that comes into the player. Now, we will look at something what happens in a mathematical classroom. This is not very different from what happens in a sports stadium, in a cricket match, or in a shuttle badminton match. A student is looking at a mathematics problem, right? He has to catch it. Like Virat Kohli catches a ball, he has to catch a solution to the problem. Sometimes they are very easy catches, sometimes very easy to play shuttle, sometimes they are very difficult. In this case, most of the mathematics students will know it is easy to solve the problem on the left side, but not on the right side. Right side problem is like a hard catch, a very difficult catch to get onto. But the left one is probably someone who plays this game frequently, the game of mathematics, like the game of cricket or game of shuttle badminton. It takes small effort to tackle the first problem. It takes a larger effort to tackle the second problem. Now, in this case also, the student in question needs a lot of stamina, a lot of focus. What we underestimate is when we look at stars playing cricket matches, our students playing cricket matches, our regular people playing in a ground, the concepts, the brain activity that is happening is pretty much similar to what happens to the brain activity in a typical classroom session, assuming that the student is focused enough. Right now, this is going on. Now, I want to show you what a typical classroom session is not very different from a typical a game room session, a stadium session. Okay. Now, again, we know that PV Sindhu does regular yoga. Okay. And she practices yoga to improve her stamina, to improve her focus levels, and to concentrate better. It's not just yoga, but she does many other things also. There's a picture of PV Sindhu doing yoga. Now we also see Virat Kohli doing yoga. Right now, when we look at these pictures, we think, "Wow, Virat is doing yoga and PV Sindhu is doing yoga." There's this coolness about it. Now, do we have similar coolness? And we'll see, sports persons, film stars, and leaders. They all do yoga. I'm sure you'll recognize the photos here. Virat Kohli, Manju Lakshmi, and Narendra Modi. They're all doing yoga. Now, it is cool when they do it. Now, it is very hard to imagine kids doing yoga in the classroom session. It's not that cool. When big people do it, it is cool. But the amount of effort that is required to play a game is about the same as amount of effort it takes to sit in a classroom session and understand what's going on in the classroom session. So this is the synopsis I wanted to give you on why we wanted yoga to be an important component of education system in India. We are not giving it the same amount of the coolness that is associated with a cricket game or a shuttle badminton game and other games, and the same kind of mental setup that you would need in a classroom environment. We do not equate them. We think that they're so different. They're not the same. They don't need that kind of attention. But we noticed, from my experience, we have been working with several schools in Hyderabad. We've noticed that the connection between fitness, the yoga, and the classroom session is very strong. And I want to demonstrate some of those things for you. Now, what did we do? How did our program start? What did we do to promote yoga in schools? The first thing that we noticed is that we need to obviously give some practice to students. We started with a small set of people at a ground. We collected all of them, and they started doing micro yoga. When we start yoga at a very early stage, we call it something like micro yoga. In other words, it's also called Sukshma Vyayama, micro yoga, micro exercise, in other words. So when we started doing this, bringing children to the ground and making them practice yoga, there is a certain excitement in the initial days. But over a period of time, that excitement comes down a little bit, and we want to show you why it's a problem. What we noticed is it is not enough to have the people regularly do yoga. We can do that, but the excitement does not last. So what we have to do is, just like in a typical sports environment, children are sports persons are always practicing in the ground. Okay, but there is also a tournament. There is also a exam that they take. There's also something that they regularly participate in, so that they are able to prove themselves. What we have to do for yoga is not just to train them, but also prove that they are capable of doing big things. Okay, so now what we did, the same children that we trained early morning in the ground, we told them there is an event in the school. Let's do this as a yoga formation session for all the students. Now, our wonderful experience is when we took about a dozen children, and during their Independence Day, we did this small session for them. There's live music going on, and then there were formations. The moment we did something like this, there was kind of a mini revolution that happened in the school. There were a number of students who rushed to me and said, "Sir, I want to learn yoga. Pakka, next time I join yoga. Sir, please give me a chance. Please give me a chance." Why did that happen? Why did so many people come to us? When we were doing this in the ground, there were many students who were passing by, looking at us, laughing, giggling, and going on. But the moment they saw something in a session where there is a formation going on, there is coolness associated with it. This is so cool, they are doing this, and everyone is clapping for them. I want to be part of that team which receives that applause for me. And that coolness, the moment the coolness is added, we have a lot of enrollments in yoga coming in. Lot of people joined, and then we did not stop with it. This is like, for a cricket equivalent, this is a gully cricket. At a school level, they are performing. We wanted to take them to the next level. We wanted to take them to competitions, and not only go there, but also come back with a big win. Okay? Maybe in the very first competition that we went to, our children won first prize and second prize. Two sisters, they both won first prize and second prize. You will see also, you will see in this picture here with me, two of our wonderful yoga gurus, Vignata and Bharat, and Sai Preeti, who received the award. This group is able to do wonderful things starting from that point. They won the competitions. They are now bringing laurels to the school, which they did not expect in the first place. There was slight resistance in the school in the beginning. What will yoga do? Will it give you better marks? Will it do? Will it earn you food? Will it do magic for you? All these questions were there initially. But the moment they go out and win competitions, the moment they participate in something for within their school campus, things started changing. Now we took them to bigger shows. School is one platform, and the next thing that we wanted to do is, can we take them to a bigger platform? We took them to a show where there are 400 people watching this. Everyone knew to them. In a school environment, they knew the students who were watching, and the students knew who they are going to watch perform yoga. But in this case, there were 300 strangers watching this. And when they were watching this, I still remember very vividly, one girl, after the event got over, there was a thunderous applause, not only applause, but there was a standing ovation for the students, because the performance was out of this world, so powerful. One child came to me and she was almost in tears saying, "Sir, nobody clapped for me so much in my entire life." And I'll never forget that. And she said, "I'm almost in tears." And I had to tell the same thing to that person. Even I am in tears. Even I did not expect this kind of a response. That response that we received was the first breakthrough. And then after that, we gave many public performances, and there was media coverage for us. When the media coverage happened, our children appeared in the newspapers. And when the newspaper, then a lot of magical things, some pleasant and some unpleasant things started happening. And children's parents sometimes come to us and tell us, "Why are you not taking my child into your yoga program?" And sometimes there are some teachers encouraging more and more students to go out and do yoga. And when we received media coverage, it's not just in the newspaper, we were also on TV. There was a TV program that was done specifically for Yoga Day, International Yoga Day in 2019. They visited us, took a live performance, interviewed our yoga gurus, Bharat and Vignata. They interviewed some of our teachers, and they did many things. And this program came live came on TV a few days later on the occasion of International Yoga Day. This also changed everything. Again, my calculation was, the way we promote yoga in schools, it is not possible to promote yoga just by making them do exercises in a routine way. We had to do something big. We had to do something big enough for others to catch the attention of what exactly is happening. Why is this important for me? Now, I learned in a spiritual sense, I learned something called, you give students what they want, and they will someday ask you what you want to give them. We wanted to give them name and fame. We wanted to give them opportunities to test themselves, to build their confidence, to build their stamina. And once we started doing that, we gave them what they wanted, the name and fame at a school level. That is cool, You say, I love this. Many people are clapping for me. I'm doing wonderful, and I'm getting a new name. I'm being known for yoga. All these wonderful things start happening. And when these things happening, other people who are watching away from the limelight, they want to be in the limelight too. And they come and ask us, we want to do this. We also want to do this. And that feeling when we see, the coolness factor is converting into more and more registrations for yoga is something amazing for me. I felt very, very good about it. Now, we did not stop with public performances. We did not stop with stop with local performances. We did not stop with the many things that we were doing until that point. We wanted to use this as an opportunity to take our children to bigger venues. In this case, we visited corporates. This picture shows you a small event we organized on the occasion of International Yoga Day in 2019. Again, we went to Microsoft, and what you are seeing there is most of the Microsoft employees sitting there and watching the show, wonderful yoga performances by our students and clapping for them. And this exposure is now giving us two results. One is our students are getting exposure. Our students are getting more and more confidence. They are seeing now life with a new purpose. And what the other side of it is Microsoft employees. Some of them are parents. They are all now exposed to the benefits of yoga. Not only that, but how cool it is. I mean, when children actually do this kind of yoga, how nice it is. And they want their children to do it. Again, this is in a funny way. If PV Sindhu, if you noticed, PV Sindhu won the medal at Olympics. Now I can see many of the parents want their children to play shuttle badminton. If my neighbor gets into IIT, I want my children to get into IIT, so I will enroll my child into IIT Training Institute. Right? When the same thing happens even here also, there is peer pressure, which is good in a way for the benefit of the child in a number of cases. In this case, the parents who saw this, they went home and started asking their children to learn yoga because this is cool, this is nice, this is where you can prove yourself. And that's a wonderful thing that happened with the corporates that we visited. And we also received wonderful recognition for our program. This is a picture that we use very liberally. The person who was sitting in the middle with yoga posture, there is our MP from our constituency locally. He's current union cabinet member for culture, union minister for culture and cultural program, culture and tradition, probably, I don't remember the name exactly, but he's the union cabinet minister. At that time, he was an MLA from Amberpet constituency where we work with many kids. There, when he saw the program for the first time, he was so thrilled. He was so thrilled that he wanted this program to happen one more time. It's rare that you get to hear a program going on and people clap continuously and ask once more, once more, once more. And then that once more turned into one more session of yoga with students on the stage performing those formations. And he decided, he got emotional, got onto the stage and sat on the stage doing his own meditation pose there. Now, when this happened, there were about 500 to 1,000, anywhere between 500 to 1,000 children and parents and all in the ground there. It's an open ground in MCH ground in Amberpet. And when they saw this, they started recognizing these children. These children suddenly became local heroes. Okay, those are the wonderful things that started happening. Now, what we want to do is, what we noticed is it only about name and fame? Is it only about fitness? Is it only about promoting yoga? How do we do this on a large scale? If we have to replicate this program, the moment we did it in one school, people started rushing to us with more and more registrations. They wanted to learn yoga. We experimented this program in 10 other schools. And 10 other schools, we repeated the same process. We teach them yoga, give them a platform in their own school for their Independence Day, or Republic Day, or Science Day, or Teachers Day, or anything that the Children's Day, anything that you can think of. When they performed in the school, again, we saw more and more people coming to us and asking, when can we start yoga? When are you starting a new batch? That's how success started breeding success, that's what they say. And initially when we were training 30 children, what we noticed is children who learned yoga, they are ready to teach yoga for others. And these are the wonderful things that started happening lately in the last 2 years, to 1.5, 2 years time, in spite of the pandemic. So before the pandemic, this is a picture from before the pandemic. There are students who learned yoga for up to 2 years by then, and they are the ones who are willing to teach yoga to the entire school. Now imagine an assembly. instead of an assembly with prayers and everything, soon after the assembly gets over, a majority of the children stay back and they practice yoga. And who are teaching them yoga? The students. We notice something similar in the human excellence department also, but here I will limit myself to yoga. In this case, what is happening is the students themselves are now becoming instructors in their own school. They are the ones who are even teaching yoga to their own teachers. Now, this is another picture of students teaching yoga to students. This happened more and more in our Amberpet government school, more in our Amberpet government school than in other schools. But this is also an example of how all the students collected one place and do yoga regularly. Okay. Now, what I am looking at is when you look at the whole program, when we look at the whole program. What we wanted to do is imagine the same picture that I showed you earlier about Virat Kohli or PV Sindhu. For someone to become that strong, that good at a game, they need to have a strong stamina. And that kind of stamina takes a lot of effort over a long period of time. It is not something that gets built over a period or just one night. It happens over continuous practice over many years of time. What we noticed in the case of yoga is, in the case of yoga, I'll show you a small video to demonstrate to you what happens during a typical practice session, or when they are preparing for a show at some place, or when they are recording something for a online session. Let me play this video. And I want you to focus on each of these individuals who are doing this yoga, each of these students who are doing this yoga. One, they are doing complicated yoga routines. They are not simple yoga routines. Someone who started yoga in the last 1 month will not be able to do any of this. Someone who has been trained for over 6 months will be able to do some of these routines. Okay. And it takes a lot of effort to do this kind of yoga. You can watch any of the students, each one of them is performing a different routine, different yoga asana, different yoga pose, and watch them what they do.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Position 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Relax. Come.
Okay, so what you are noticing here is each of the students is doing a different routine. Okay, a different yoga pose, like I said. Now, what I noticed in sports and what I noticed in yoga, there is a significant difference between the two. When you play sports regularly, okay, what I tell at many locations is, when you play sports regularly, at a very early age, from 5th class, 6th class onwards, I played a lot of cricket when I was young. I played a lot of handball. I was a handball player in my high school days. I played a lot of handball too. I was very poor in studies. In fact, I flunked my 5th grade. I managed to scrape through 7th class, 8th class and 9th class. I was not someone who would be interested in studies at all. I played so many games, I was always in the ground. Now, something magical happened in 9th class. In 9th class, when I started focusing on my studies, some of these things are coming to me very easily. Those mathematics problems or those science experiments, those are coming to me very easily. To this day, what I am noticing is, whoever is very good at sports, their brain is getting primed for a physics class. Their mind is getting trained for a mathematics class. Why? Again, go back to Virat Kohli catching that ball. Like I said, there is a lot of mathematics happening there. How fast should you run before you bend? How much should you stretch your hands before you can hold the ball? These kind of mathematical calculations, without Virat Kohli himself knowing any mathematics whatsoever behind this, is able to get the ball. You don't have to know mathematics to play cricket, right? But what happens is when you play games continuously, your mind is getting trained to think mathematically without you actually knowing about mathematics. But when you sit in a mathematics class and you see a problem, because your mind is already wired for that kind of thinking, already primed for that kind of thinking, you are able to pick up a mathematics concept very easily. Okay, now that is about sports. The story about sports will end there. What we noticed in sports is, even in my own case, sports bring in a lot of aggression in you. Imagine PV Sindhu playing those shots continuously, and the moment she wins, she aggressively raises her hands and shouts out very, very loudly, saying that I won this, yeah, and that's the kind of sound she makes, right? And that's the aggression that gets out of her body. The same thing happens with cricket players. Now, what is yoga doing is, in a way, yoga is promoting calmness in people. If you see these children, when they complete a yoga routine, they're not shouting loudly, yeah, I did it. Kind of shouting is not visible. And when they do this, they have to be completely focused on what they are doing so as to get it right. Okay, and your body must be extremely flexible to do some of these yoga asanas. You see how much she is able to stretch. The first person in this picture, how much she is able to stretch herself so as to put her chin on the road there, chin on the floor there. How much she has to bend. Now that flexibility is there. In addition to that flexibility, there is tremendous amount of calmness in her. You see any of those children there, there is tremendous amount of calmness, and this kind of calmness is typically not gotten into sorry. This kind of calmness typically does not is not part of the training in a typical sports arena, in a sports stadium. This kind of calmness is not part of the training. But when you train in yoga, the calmness of the mind and the stamina to do certain difficult things is natural to you. Now, how does this translate into real life? Again, I'll go back to this question again. Most of the things that as children age over a period of time, they are learning to do very difficult things in the process of yoga learning. When you see this girl here who is doing this complicated asana, now it's almost like, that top of the toe on the top and then the bottom toe, it's almost making a 180 degrees. This is nearly impossible for many people to do. And some children are able to do some of the most complicated asanas. Now, what I tell these children is, now listen, you have learned how to do this yoga. It's not just you have learned how to do yoga, complicated asanas, but you are also learning to do difficult things. If your mind is now primed to do difficult things over a period of time, just like the mind gets primed for mathematics class in a sports room, just as the mind gets trained for mathematics or physics or chemistry or anything for that matter in a shuttle badminton court, the same thing happens in yoga also, but at a different level. In this case, the child is now training himself or herself to do difficult things, not just complicated things, but difficult things that require stamina over long periods of time. Now, our children, how does this translate into in an academic environment? The way it translates into an academic environment is when the child sits down to solve a mathematics problem or learn a difficult complex in history topic in history or social studies, or even a complicated slokam or a poem from Telugu or English, what they are now training, what their mind is trying to do is, I know it is difficult, but it is not impossible. I know I'll be able to do this. Yoga gives that kind of priming to the mind. That kind of priming happens for the mind, right? When that happens, most of the children, we notice that as they age, our yoga students are not afraid of doing difficult things, whether it is academics or whether it is other things in life. When they face a certain situation in the family or other things. Typically, some of our children, when I talk to them, what did yoga do to you? Some of them very frankly tell me that I was very angry at one time. I was a difficult child in my family, but I am much better now. People like me much better now than a couple of years back. That's the kind of information they give. And there are two types of people we encountered in yoga. There are people who come to us who are very talkative. Didi, I want that. Didi, I want this. मुझे भी खेलना है, मुझे भी पढ़ना है, मुझे भी ये करना है, वो करना है. They are continuously talkative. And there are also other children who are deeply introverts and they don't talk much at all. What yoga was able to do for them is to bring extreme kids to calmness and extremely calm people to increase their level of attention in the increase their level of participation in the events. We are able to see that kind of movements from here and there, from the extremes to the average and from low to average also. That extreme movements we are able to see. And then not only difficult things, but it's also about building stamina. Like for example, if you noticed earlier, there was that yoga video that you watched. There is this guru who is counting. When they are all set in that particular complicated pose, they are supposed to maintain that position for 30 seconds until a count of 30. And our yoga guru is counting numbers 1, 2, 3, 4. What happens is in the process, what's happening is the child is also getting trained to focus for longer period of times by being conscious of the time also, by being conscious of how long I am able to do this. And that kind of stamina building happens in this process in yoga. And attain calmness, again, like I said earlier, most of our students have mellowed down a little bit. Those who are aggressive, mellowed down a little bit. And those who are introverts have more participation levels. Same thing with attention span. There is a serious problem with attention span in many schools and colleges that we are visiting. We are noticing this. Yoga is invariably able to provide some kind of increase in attention spans of children. Why? You saw the video, you saw the previous pictures. They are able to do one thing at a time for the longest period of time. And it is because of that training, the mind is getting trained to do certain things. They are able to increase their attention spans without themselves knowing about attention span as a concept. We also noticed higher levels of focus. This higher level of focus that we are able to see is mainly because if you have to do a particular complicated yoga asana, you need higher level of focus, otherwise you will miss it. Suppose you have to do this yoga, okay? In this yoga, while she is focused on putting her feet from the top toe to the bottom toe, the right toe to the left toe, if you want to take it that way, that 180-degree thing is a very difficult one. While she is doing it, she is also holding her right hand in a particular pose, okay, particular mudra. And when she is able to do this seamlessly, then we know that there is higher level of focus in this child. And this does not happen because of one asana. This happens over a period of time. What we are suggesting is we want to do this at a consistent level in all the schools, as many schools as possible, and then do an analysis on that. Now, complete individual is, again, like I said, sports gives you a lot of aggressiveness. At the same time, it primes you for physics, chemistry, and mathematics, like I said earlier. But now, when we notice that people who are calm, who build stamina enough, when they prepare for their NEET exams or when they prepare for IIT exams, they have the stamina. Without knowing that they have the stamina, they build that stamina to sit for long hours of study if needed. They are able to focus on a problem for longer hours. They are able to have the attention span to sustain themselves for a longer hours, for a longer period of time. And this kind of awareness of self, this kind of individual is getting a completeness around it. And we notice that some of our children who are doing advanced yoga have a clarity of purpose in their life too. Okay. And with those thoughts, I will briefly narrate one small incident. This happens to me many times. There are parents who come to us, and sometimes they tell me, "Sir, my child is not at all interested in studies. What should I do?" Okay, so the first thing that I tell them is, first thing that I ask them is, It's okay if your child is not studying well, not interested in academics, don't worry about it. But tell me this, does your child have, is your child interested in sports and games? Does he go out and play actively? If the answer is yes, I tell them, don't worry, your child is going to be all right. Because I know from myself, I have become all right in academics, even though I played a lot of games until 8th class and 9th class. I was never in the classroom. But the moment I sat in the classroom, things started working out very well for me. So if the child is interested in sports and games, is actively playing physical games that involve a lot of physical activity, then don't worry about your child. And then the second question that I ask them is, does your child have social life? Does he go out? Does he participate in team events? Does he have a lot of friends? Does he visit his family friends? Does he visit his school friends? Does he visit his relatives? If he or she is able to do this, then don't worry about your child. And the third question that I ask them is your child well nourished? Is your child generally healthy? Or is he sleeping most of the time? Or is he spending a lot of time playing video games? Or is he generally unhealthy in terms of not being able to do anything for a fixed amount of time, not being able to eat well, not being able to maintain good health, maintain good posture, not able to stand properly? If he is having these problems, then we have to look at the individual in a bigger way, in a bigger way. But in general, if the child is healthy, if the child is playing games and sports, and if the child is generally fit, is socially active, then don't worry about this child. If even 2 out of 3, social life, playing sports and games, and health. If these three, out of these three, if 2 things are in good shape, there is nothing for you to worry about this child. Okay, so when we look at all these children who are participating in yoga, we have trained close to, I have to look at my numbers again, at least 500 children across 10 schools. And we noticed one statistics, collateral information, kind of information that I wanted to share with you is, in the very first school where we train children, the first pic that I showed you at a school level, at a school performance on August 15th, our children did a wonderful show. And that was the first time the school actually did something in yoga in a big way. That year, the school got their 10th class results. The following year, they got their 10th class results. What we noticed is, for the first time, until that point, the school got about 5 people who scored more than 9. Okay, more than 9 points, 9 GPA. That year, there were 13 students who got GPA of more than 9. And to our utter surprise, 12 of them were people who did yoga. 12 students who did yoga got more than 9.2. Now, this is for me an analysis that I was able to do for 1 year. This is the kind of analysis that I wanted to do over a period of time, but because of pandemic, we are not able to do this. In spite of pandemic, we are able to do yoga continuously in the mornings. Our children are actively participating in yoga sessions in the mornings. We are still celebrating. We celebrated International Yoga Day for the first time in 2018, and we have been celebrating International Yoga Day every year without fail, pandemic or no pandemic. So it is because of yoga, we are able to notice significant levels of improvement in a child, significant levels of identifying a purpose for themselves, right? Therefore, I think in summary, this is what I think. If you make yoga the most important component of our education system, it will have tremendous impact on the quality of life of children, and also the quality of the education system will itself be enhanced, as we noticed earlier. And we are now doing a lot of research on how yoga relates to academic standards, how yoga is helping academic standards. These are all the things that we are going to do more and more research on in the next few months and few years. We have a lot of data. We are also very happy to announce to you that our first batch of students who learned yoga are now in their intermediate second year or BE first year, and they are the people degree first year, and they are the people who have become official trainers. And during the recent yoga International Yoga Day, we gave, typically most of these events are used to give awards to people who make it big in their particular area of expertise. And what we did, instead of giving awards to already accomplished people, we gave three awards to three individuals who have decided to take up yoga as a profession, as a part-time profession, even as they are pursuing their academics. And we recognize them when we know that they are going to make it very big in life. We know that they are going to do something phenomenal in their lives, right? So we gave them that award, and we know going forward, yoga has wonderful future for India, for our education system, provided we give it the necessary impetus that it needs. So with those thoughts, I will hand it back to Manigaru. Manigaru, back to you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir, Sahadev Garu. That was extremely insightful and a lot of relevant, useful information, sir. Thank you so much for that. And this is to do with the difference between yoga and mudra, and if there is any such difference.
Mudras are used in yoga, and I would rather have an expert on yoga teacher to do something to be able to explain this. If you notice the child who is doing something like this, this is a kind of a mudra. And when you sit in a meditation pose, you sit like this, or you sit like this. And when you do pranayama exercise, I didn't talk about pranayama exercise today. When you do something like this, these mudras, there are names to each one of these mudras. Mudras are used as part of a yoga routine, yoga asana. But that's about it. That's the relationship between yoga and mudras.
Thank you, sir, for that. So I have a few questions, if you don't mind, Sahadev Garu. We try to keep Vishwa Talks as relevant to the current context as possible. And the current context, obviously, is these COVID times, these unprecedented times that parents, especially, I don't think have been trained or could have been trained for. And with all the children at home, getting restless because they're unable to meet their friends or go out. How important do you think, and how well do you think yoga could help in calming the children down and giving them some positive activity?
Okay, so there are two things here, especially in the pandemic times when you want to think in terms of respiratory diseases that are going on. One thing that all our yoga teachers are able to do is to train children on fundamentals of pranayama. And even I have learned some of those techniques. In the process of pranayama training, you are training your entire respiratory system. You are training it to absorb and use oxygen more efficiently. And there are beautiful techniques for this. Most of our children are able to do that, pranayama exercises. They do that very well. And in addition to that, there are some respiratory problems. Some of our experts are able to do this. Not every child is able to do this, but some of our children are able to do this. The thing is, they clean the entire nasal passage. They are able to, some of our children are able to do this. They clean their entire nasal passage by passing through a small rope string like of a thing that goes inside and comes out from the other side, and they're able to clean their system. Now, these simple exercises, I have trained gurus, Bharat and Vignata, they have done this. A person who is affected by COVID, with efficient yoga routines, especially on pranayama side, they are able to reduce the impact of COVID on those people. Unfortunately, we were not able to reach as many children as we wanted to reach during the pandemic times, but those of the children who are able to regularly participate in this yoga, and these children are fortunately have the presence of mind to train their parents in these pranayama exercises. So we see some kind of safety around these people, but like I said, we were not able to reach as many people as we wanted to reach.
Yes. Ask it.
Yes, please.
Yeah. Before 2 years, in my school, there is a yoga period is there, but not is now. No, the period is not here now. When I'm practicing for 2 years, it will be okay for me in my studies also. But now I'm stopping practicing my yoga. now I cannot able to do some other exercise and some other yogas. I stopped. What is it, sir? Before 2 years practicing, it was okay for me to do many things. Before doing practicing yoga, I was brave, but now I can able to how can I say, now I cannot able to do some things. I'm afraid of fear.
Okay, so it's good to know, Nidish, that you have practiced yoga for some time, but it is sad to know that you have stopped it. So, what is important is what you have learned in yoga, you have decided to leave them aside for some time. You should not have done that. It's okay, but you can always start again. See, yoga is something that when you stop for some time and you come back to it a little later, you will pick it up much faster. If initially it takes you 3 months to learn something, you stop for some time. When you come back, it will probably take you 10 days to come back to what you were before. So it's not late for you. You're too young now, very young now. You can start again. What I'm saying is, even if you're very busy with your academics, can you spend only 15 minutes? I will tell you this. If you are busy preparing for your exams and all, I want to give you this example. If you wake up early in the morning and the first thing that you do is yoga for 15 minutes, you will effectively gain at least 1 extra hour of reading time because of the energy that you gain from that 15 minutes. When you do yoga, it actually stimulates your brain in a beautiful way that you will not know, you will not be able to visualize it, you will not be able to see it on a screen. But when that beautiful thing starts happening to your brain, that brain is now alive, more focused, and able to do many more things. And that will sustain itself for a long period of time during the day. And if you think you will need someone to help you every day to do yoga, then it will be again a sad thing. Once you learn yoga, there is no investment. You don't have to buy any new equipment. You don't have to pay any yoga teacher for that matter to learn anything new. Whatever you know, up to that point, recall, do it again and again. You will have wonderful day every day. So if you stopped it, say sorry to yourself, start again. You will notice a significant difference again in yourself.
Pragashita, would you like to ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
I must have participate. Hello,
Good.
sir. That is good.
Commitment.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Sir, is there any way to develop our brain with yoga?
There are many ways. Have you done yoga before? Are you a regular practitioner of yoga? Do you practice yoga? Yes. Okay.
Sir, before 2 years.
So, what grade are you studying now? What class are you in right now?
In school, sir.
In school, which class? 7th class?
First period.
First class. That's all. Okay. So, brain can. Yes. So there are many simple exercises. When you do micro yoga, we talked about micro yoga. It starts with simple exercises. It starts with your head, and as you grow old, you will understand that the brain functions, the number of ways in which brains function. You notice that there are several nerves that are going in the brain. Many people, you're still you may not be able to understand this, but those of you who are able to follow this, pay attention to this. We call it irrigation of the brain. Okay, in a field, the plants grow wherever the water goes, right? In a typical farmland, wherever the water is able to reach, there the plants grow. Similarly, wherever the blood goes in the brain system, those parts of the brain get very, very active. That is what we call irrigation of the brain. And irrigation of the brain is possible in two ways. One is through exercise, and you're specifically telling your head to move in a certain direction. You do this, and then you rotate your head around the way. Then these nerves that are connected to the brain are able to send blood to those parts of the brain more efficiently. And there are other exercises also. When the irrigation happens, there is part of the brain that is for music. There's a part of the brain that is for logic and mathematics. There's a part of the brain for other things, so many other things, cooking, eating, sleeping well. There are different functions of the brain. If the entire brain is able to receive the blood in all its parts, the irrigation happens perfectly, then the growth of the brain is absolutely very well. And that is possible with sports and also regular exercise. Where are all these children coming from? My God. Very nice.
Joshika, Jyotsna, please unmute one at a time, ask your questions.
How many times a week should I practice yoga?
How many times in a day? Okay.
Week.
In a week. Okay. Again, if you are a new person, new to yoga, I would suggest practice every day for at least 15-20 minutes. Okay. And over a period of time, depending on your schedule, your timings, your academics and all, you should not lose. The idea is not about the amount of time you spend, but the things that you learn, you should not forget them. Let's say you learned Surya Namaskaras and you learned about 15 different asanas. At any given point, if you are able to do those asanas, you are getting enough practice. Like they say about dancers, there's a slide about dancers. I'll talk about dancing, similar thing. If a dancer asks how many times should I dance every in a week, to how many times should I practice? The answer is this. This is what a dance guru told me. If you don't practice for one day, your guru will know it. If you don't practice for 7 days continuously, everyone will know it when you are on the stage. So same thing with yoga. You will know if you got enough practice or not just by looking at yourself and how well you are able to do yoga at any given time.
Right, Sahadev sir. I have a few more questions if you don't mind, sir. India and parents in India, as you had highlighted already, are more about sports or cricket or what they see on TV. And I think a lot of that has to do with the thought that maybe my child can create a career out of sports. And there's also the question of sports quota and getting into universities if the child isn't performing very well in school academically. What would you say to those parents, and how would you show them the benefit and the future benefit really of introducing yoga to their child?
Okay, so sometimes when parents ask me this kind of a question, I generally tend to ask them very frankly, what do you want? Do you want a brilliant child or do you want a healthy child? Okay, it's a tough question, tough choice, right? I want my child to make it big in life. I want him to be the next CEO of Amazon or Microsoft. Not very practical in all cases, right? But again, choice is again, do you want your child to be next Amazon CEO or do you want your child to be very, very healthy throughout his life? What do you want? And again, it's a difficult choice, right? And they'll not be able to say it out very easily. What we are doing here is we are telling children and parents that yoga is definitely helping in your academics. It may not make you the next CEO of Amazon. It may or may not, we don't know. We have not seen, we don't have that kind of statistics. But again, when it comes to general health, if you, I told you before that there are 13 children who got more than 9.0 that year. Out of them, 12 of them practiced yoga throughout the year. Right? We are trying to find out how that one person did not join yoga or what happened to that person. But again, this yoga is definitely helping in increased levels of attention span, building their stamina, building their focus. If these things are there, they invariably contribute to higher academic standards. If parents understand this simple thing, it's not about sitting in front of the books 24/7 to master a topic, but you should also train your mind. You should also train your body to be able to sit for long hours. And how do you get that? You don't get that by just sitting in front of your books. You get that when you stretch, go out, do more yoga, do more difficult things, and then come back and sit down and see magic happening with your brain. Parents should know this.
Very relevant point, sir. They say a healthy mind in a healthy body. And I think that is very, very true.
And we are also doing this. And we did during Science Day, we did a program called, with catchy titles, rhythmic title, Removing Roga Using Yoga. Okay. And in this concept, what we try to do is we identified a roga, a disease, and we told them to control this disease, say, for example, diabetes. These are the yoga asanas that you can do regularly. And same thing for children also. If a child has a certain problem, certain breathing problem, certain allergies, or certain things, the child is automatically knowing about the importance of a particular asana on that particular disease. Okay, this connection between yoga and life, yoga and academics must be perpetually understood by everyone.
Very, very pertinent point, sir. As you can see, we have a lot of children, a lot of the kids have joined us today. And of course, we've spoken at length to parents, I think, and adults. What would you say to these kids that have tuned in today?
Okay, so kids, my favorite topic. I work with kids. I talk to them. I sit down and talk to them for hours. Children, if you are watching this show, if you have seen some of your seniors or others doing yoga, notice that yoga is not difficult at all. Yoga makes you do difficult things, but yoga in itself is not very difficult. You notice some of our kids doing at a very young age, at 40, 45. I tell this to parents also. If I have to look at a person's health, if I have to predict a person's health between 40 and 50, okay, I will look at his lifestyle between 15 and 25. Between 15 and 25, you're physically fit, physically active, playing a lot of games. You'll have wonderful health between 40 and 50. And if you continue that kind of a trend between 40 and 50, you'll have wonderful life between 60 and 70 and beyond. So it starts with school. It starts at a school level. For children who want to maintain good health throughout their life, they have to start early. I cannot bend my body like that girl did in that yoga, this video that we saw. I cannot do that. I might be able to do something like that had I started something like that when I was 12. Right? The kind of flexibility that you maintain, if you consistently maintain throughout your life, you will have excellent health throughout your life. So what I want to tell all the children who are here is start now. This is the best time for you. If you're under 15, under 20, this is the best time for you to learn yoga. And this yoga makes you do difficult things, but in itself is not very difficult at all. You see those children, they learn these things very, very quickly.
Great, sir. Thank you so much. I think that's all the time we have today. Thank you, Sahadev, sir. Thank you for taking the time out. Yoga is globally very popular. It's growing in popularity. But I think we should make all efforts to make sure that we in the motherland of yoga, we also embrace it and we benefit from all the fruits of life that it has to offer, all the benefits that it has to offer. And I think you've made some very, very relevant points today. I hope our audience has taken true value from your speech today. Thank you so much, sir.